stretched flat and white under a sky that had no clouds. Heat rose off the road in visible waves, bending the horizon into something that looked like water but was not. The highway cut a straight black line through nothing. No towns. No fences. Just sand, scrub brush, and the low rumble of engines. 3 vehicles moved in a tight column. 2 black SUVs bracketed a transport truck in the middle. The truck had no markings. No plates. Its windows were tinted so dark they looked painted. Above them, higher than the eye could comfortably track, 2 F-22 Raptors flew in loose formation, their engines leaving thin white scars across the blue. In the lead SUV, Major Dane Kowalski sat in the passenger seat. His driver was a young corporal named Fields who had not spoken in 40 minutes. Dane did not mind. He watched the road ahead and listened to the radio chatter from the jets above. Raptor 1, this is Raptor 2. You drifting left again, Dane. The voice belonged to Captain Ray Tanaka, flying the second jet. Ray had been Dane's wingman for 3 years. Before that, they had flown together in a different squadron, in a different war, under a different commander. They did not talk about that time. They did not need to. Dane keyed the mic on his vest. I'm not drifting. You're drifting. Check your heading. My heading is fine. You're the one who needs a nap. I slept 9 hours last night. Then you're drifting while rested. Impressive. Dane almost smiled. Almost. He let the mic go and looked out the window. The desert rolled past. Same sand. Same scrub. Same nothing. They had been driving for 2 hours. Another hour to the airfield. Then the asset would be transferred to a C-17, flown to a location Dane had not been told, and that would be the end of it. Simple escort. Simple job. In the back of the transport truck, behind the tinted glass, sat Elena Vasquez. She was 34 years old. She had dark hair pulled back in a loose knot. She wore a gray jacket that was too warm for the desert, but she had not taken it off. Her hands rested in her lap. Her fingers were still. She had not moved since they loaded her into the truck at the safe house outside Barstow. Elena was not a soldier. She was not an agent. She was a linguistics consultant attached to a university program that Dane did not know the name of. 3 days ago, a Colonel Dane had never met had handed him a file with Elena's photograph and a single instruction. Transport her to the airfield. Do not let her speak to anyone. Do not answer her questions. She is cargo. Dane had read the file twice. There was very little in it. Name, age, academic credentials. A note that she had been recovered from a personal research trip near the Nevada border. No charges. No explanation. Just the instruction and a set of coordinates. He had not spoken to her since. He had not looked at her since. He was good at following orders. He had been good at it for a long time. Above, the F-22s banked slightly to maintain position over the convoy. Ray's voice came through again. Raptor 1, control says we're clear for another 40 mics. Smooth air up here. You want me to do a low pass for fun? Negative, Raptor 2. Stay in lane. You're no fun, Dane. I'm professional. You're boring. There's a difference. Dane let the mic go. Fields, the driver, glanced at him. Dane did not look back. The corporal turned his eyes to the road. The convoy pressed on. The sun climbed. The heat thickened. The desert held its breath around them. In the back of the truck, Elena watched the inside of the tinted window. She could see shapes moving outside. Light, shadow, the suggestion of sky. She counted her breaths. In. She had been counting them for 2 hours. Kept her steady. Kept her from thinking about what would happen at the airfield. What would happen after. She had been told she was being relocated for her safety. That was the phrase they used. For her safety. The man who said it had not looked her in the eye. He had looked at his phone. He had said it the way someone says the package is on its way and then moves to the next item on the list. Elena did not feel safe. She felt like a thing being moved from one shelf to another. She thought about her father. She thought about the tape. She thought about the words on it, the strange words she had spent 2 years trying to understand. The words that had brought 3 men to her apartment door at 4 in the morning. The words that had put her in this truck, in this desert, heading toward a place she would not be told the name of. She closed her eyes. She counted her breaths. In. The convoy drove on. The jets circled above. The radio hummed with small talk. Everything was routine. Everything was under control. It stayed that way for 11 more minutes. The radio crackled. Ray's voice came through, lighter than before. He was talking about a restaurant he had found near the base. Some place that served Korean barbecue. He was asking Dane if he wanted to go on Thursday. Dane was about to answer when the transport truck's internal channel opened. This was not supposed to happen. The truck's comms were locked. Elena was not supposed to have access to any frequency. Dane had checked this himself before the convoy rolled out. He had watched a technician seal the system. But the channel opened. A soft click. Then breathing. Then a voice. Elena's voice. Quiet. Steady. Speaking not in English. Not in Spanish. Not in any language Dane recognized from the file. She spoke a string of words. 7 words. The sounds were low, guttural, rhythmic. They had a shape to them, a weight. They did not sound like any language Dane had heard in 20 years of service. They sounded older than that. They sounded like something pulled up from deep ground. Then the channel closed. The click came again. Silence. In the lead SUV, Dane's hand stopped moving. He had been reaching for his water bottle. His fingers hung in the air. He did not breathe. He did not blink. Above, in the cockpit of Raptor 2, Ray Tanaka's mouth was open. He had been mid-sentence, talking about the restaurant, talking about the side dishes. The words died in his throat. His hands stayed on the stick, but his fingers went loose. His eyes went wide and fixed on nothing. Neither man spoke. The radio carried only the hum of open static. No breathing, no chatter, no small talk, just the sound of 2 men not talking. Fields, the driver, glanced at Dane. "Sir? You okay?" Dane did not answer. "Sir." Dane swallowed. His jaw worked. He looked at the radio as if it had grown teeth. Then he looked forward. The road stretched ahead. Same sand, same scrub, same nothing. But it looked different now. It looked like the road from before. The road from then. "Raptor 1, Ray said. His voice was flat, stripped, like a wire with the insulation burned off. "Dane, did you hear that?" It was not a question. Dane pressed the mic. "I heard it." Another silence. Longer this time. The jets held their formation. The convoy held its speed. The desert did not change. "That was..." Ray started. "I know what it was." "How does she?" "I don't know." Another silence. Dane closed his eyes. Behind his lids he saw a room. Concrete walls. Fluorescent lights. A long metal table. 6 chairs. A man at the head of the table with gray at his temples and a scar on his left hand. The man was speaking. The man was saying those words. The same 7 words. As a code. As a key. As a thing that should never be said outside that room. Colonel Martin Briggs. Dead for 29 years. Dane opened his eyes. The desert was still there. The road was still there. The truck behind them was still there, carrying a woman who should not know those words. Who could not know those words. "Raptor 2, Dane said. Maintain formation. Do not break radio silence to control. Do not log that transmission." Ray did not answer for 3 seconds. Then, "Understood." Dane turned to Fields. "Keep driving. Same speed. Same route. Say nothing about what you heard on that channel." Fields nodded. He looked confused, but he nodded. He drove. Dane picked up the secure phone mounted on the dash. He dialed a number. It rang 4 times. A voice answered. A woman's voice. "Board. Administrative. Transport control, this is Kowalski, escort lead. Confirm the asset in vehicle 2. Name. Status. Any flags." A pause. Typing. "Asset is Elena Vasquez. Civilian consultant. No flags. Status is passive transport. Destination unchanged. Any additional personnel assigned to her case?" "No, sir. Just you." "Understood." Dane hung up. He sat back. He stared at the road. His hands were flat on his knees. His fingers were pressed hard into the fabric of his trousers. In the jet above, Ray flew on autopilot. His hands rested in his lap. His eyes were open, but he was not looking at the sky. He was looking at something else. Something 29 years old. He remembered the room. He remembered the table. He remembered Briggs saying the words. He remembered being 23 and thinking it was just a code phrase. Just a thing you said into a radio to confirm identity. Nothing special. Nothing dangerous. He had been wrong. They reached the airfield at 1400. The convoy stopped. The SUVs flanked the truck. Dane stepped out into the heat. The sun hit him like a hand on the chest. He squinted. The truck's rear door opened. 2 soldiers helped Elena down. She stood on the asphalt. She looked at Dane. Her face was calm. Her eyes were not. Dane walked over. He stopped 3 feet from her. The soldiers stepped back. Ray's jet screamed overhead, climbing to altitude. The sound filled the air and then faded. "You spoke on the channel," Dane said. Elena nodded. "I needed you to hear me. That channel was locked." "I know. I broke the seal. I'm sorry. I didn't know how else to reach you. You could have knocked on the partition. You could have waited." "I couldn't wait." Her voice was steady but thin, like a wire pulled too tight. "I needed to say it before we got here. Before they put me on the plane." Dane studied her. She was smaller than she looked in the file photograph. Thinner. The gray jacket hung loose on her shoulders. There were dark circles under her eyes. She had not slept well in a while. Maybe not in days. "The words you said," Dane started. "I know what they are." "No, you don't." "I do." She met his eyes. "They were on a tape. Cassette tape. My father left it to me when he died. 2 years ago. I spent 2 years trying to identify the language. 2 years going through university departments, linguistic databases, indigenous language archives. Nobody could place it. Nobody had heard anything like it." Dane felt his stomach tighten. "Your father." His name was Robert Vasquez. He died in a car accident outside Flagstaff. Single vehicle. No witnesses. The police called it a tire blowout. She paused. "I don't think it was a tire blowout." Dane said nothing. "I think his name was not Robert Vasquez," Elena continued. "I think he changed it. A long time ago. I think before he was Robert Vasquez, he was someone else. Someone who worked in a place where those words meant something. Where they were a key. A code. A door that only opened one way. The air between them was hot and still. Dane could feel the sun on the back of his neck. He could feel the weight of what she was saying pressing down on him. "Who do you think he was?" Dane asked. Elena reached into her jacket pocket. She pulled out a small object. Cassette tape. Old. Worn. The label was handwritten in faded ink. She held it up. "I think," she said. "His name was Martin Briggs." Dane's breath stopped. He knew that name. He had not heard it spoken aloud in 29 years. It was in a file somewhere, buried in a sub-basement at a facility that no longer existed. It was on a list of dead men. A list that was not supposed to be looked at. A list that Dane had been told in very clear terms to forget. "Briggs is dead," Dane said. "Died in 1997. Training accident. 6 men killed." "My father died 2 years ago," Elena said. "In Arizona. In a hospital bed. With me holding his hand. He was 71 years old. He had a scar on his left hand. He had gray at his temples. He used to hum a song when he made coffee. A song I later found out was a Navajo healing chant. But wrong. Changed. Like he was remembering it from very far away." Dane stared at her. He stared at the tape in her hand. He stared at the words written on the label. He could not read them from here, but he knew what they said. He knew because Briggs had written them. The same hand. The same faded ink. "The men who came to my apartment," Elena said. 3 days ago. They didn't identify themselves. They didn't show badges. They said I was being relocated for my safety. They said it was about the tape. About what was on it. They said I had been asking questions in the wrong places." "Where did you ask?" University of Arizona. Linguistics department. Then a colleague sent me to a man at the Smithsonian. An archivist. I played the tape for him. He listened. He went very pale. He said he would make a call. The next morning, 3 men were at my door. Dane looked at the transport truck. He looked at the soldiers standing nearby. He looked at the sky where the jets had been. Ray was gone now, flown on to the next waypoint. Dane was alone on the ground with this woman and a tape and a name that should have stayed buried. "What's on the tape?" he asked. "Besides the phrase. 14 minutes of audio. My father's voice. He's talking to someone. Giving coordinates. Giving a list of names. He's talking about a system. A weapons system. Something called Protocol Ash. He says it's dormant. He says it's buried. He says if anyone finds it, if anyone activates it, the phrase on the tape is the only thing that can shut it down. And then he says," she stopped, swallowed. "He says, if you are hearing this, I am already gone. And they are coming for the key. You are the key. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The sun beat down. The asphalt radiated heat. Dane stood very still. Protocol Ash. He had heard that name once. One time. In that concrete room. Briggs had said it. Protocol Ash is not for us. Protocol Ash is for the day after. The day after everything goes wrong. And then he had said the 7 words. The phrase. The key. And then Briggs had died. Or was supposed to have died. And the room was sealed. And the file was buried. And Dane was 23 and Ray was 22 and they were told to forget. And they had forgotten. Or tried to. "Put the tape away," Dane said. His voice was low. "Put it in your pocket. Do not show it to anyone else." Elena put it back in her jacket. "What happens now?" Dane looked at the transport truck. At the airfield beyond it. At the C-17 waiting on the far tarmac. The plane that would take Elena to a place Dane did not know. To people he did not know. To an end he could not see. He thought about orders. He thought about duty. He thought about 29 years of following the line. Of doing what he was told. Of not asking. Of being good at it. Then he thought about Briggs. About the scar on his hand. About the way he had looked at Dane and Ray in that room and said, "If this ever comes back, if this ever surfaces, you protect the key. You protect the person who holds it. That's the last order I'll ever give you. And it's the only one that matters." Dane had been 23. He had nodded. He had not understood. He understood now. "What happens now?" Dane said. "Is I make a call." Dane walked back to the lead SUV. He got in. He shut the door. The air conditioning hit him and he realized he was sweating. His shirt was damp at the collar. His hands were damp on the wheel. Fields looked at him. "Sir? We loading the asset onto the C-17. "No." Dane pulled out the secure phone. "Wait here." He dialed a number. Not the transport control number. Not the operations line. A different number. One he had not called in 6 years. One he had memorized from a card he found in a drawer after his last deployment. A card with no name. Just a number and a symbol. A small bird. A hawk in flight. It rang 5 times. 6, 7. He was about to hang up. "Kowalski." The voice was male. Old. Tired. "I wondered when you'd call. You know why I'm calling." "I know. I've been expecting it for 2 years. Since the old man died." Dane closed his eyes. "You knew Briggs was alive." "I knew he was alive until 2 years ago. Yes. I was one of the ones who helped him disappear. 97. After the accident. After they sealed the file. They sealed it because of Protocol Ash." A pause. A long one. "Yes. A woman is in my convoy. His daughter. She has the tape. She has the phrase. 3 days ago, men took her from her home. They're moving her to a black site. I don't know which one. I don't know who ordered it." "The phrase was broadcast on your convoy frequency?" "Yes." Another pause. Longer. "Then they know. Whoever is running the operation, they heard it too. They know the key is in play. They'll accelerate." "Accelerate what?" "Protocol Ash. The system. It's not just a weapon, Dane. It's a network. buried in the F-22 fleet. In the targeting architecture, Briggs built a kill switch into it. The phrase is the kill switch. Without it, the system can be activated remotely. Every F-22 in the fleet becomes a guided missile pointed at whatever coordinates someone enters. No pilot input, no override. Just the system, awake and hungry. Dane's hands tightened on the phone. How many jets? 212. Every active Raptor in the Air Force inventory. And someone has access to activate them. Someone has been trying for 29 years. Briggs built the system as a deterrent, a last resort. Then he realized what he'd built. He tried to destroy it. Couldn't. It was too deep in the architecture. So he built the kill switch, the phrase, and then he vanished, took the phrase with him, buried it in a language no one would recognize, gave it to his daughter without telling her what it was, hoped it would never be needed. But someone found her. Someone found the tape, or found out about it. The archivist at the Smithsonian. He made a call. To whom, I don't know. But the call went somewhere it shouldn't have. Dane looked out the window. Elena stood by the truck. She was looking at the sky, at the empty space where the jets had been. She looked small. She looked tired. She looked like a woman who had been running for 2 years and was running out of road. What do I do? Dane asked. The voice on the phone was quiet for a moment. Then, you protect the key. That was Briggs's last order. You and Tanaka. You protect her. You keep her off that plane. You keep her out of that facility. And you get that tape to someone who can use the phrase to kill the system before someone else uses it to wake it up. Who? I'll send you a name, a location, secure line. You have 12 hours, maybe less. If they accelerate, you might have 6. And if I can't get her there? Then 212 jets become someone else's weapon. And every city with an airfield becomes a target. The line went dead. Dane lowered the phone. He sat in the SUV. He looked at his hands. They were steady. They had been steady for 29 years. They were steady now. But something behind them was shaking. He turned to Fields. Change of plan. The asset is not going on the C-17. Fields blinked. Sir? Orders say. Orders changed. I'm making a call to operations. You're going to drive us south. New route. I'll give you coordinates in 10 minutes. Sir, I need confirmation from. You'll get it. But we're moving in 10. Understood. Fields swallowed. Nodded. Yes, sir. Dane got out of the SUV. He walked back to Elena. She turned to face him. Her eyes searched his face. She was looking for something. Permission, maybe, or a sign that the world had not completely closed around her. We're not getting on the plane, Dane said. Her breath caught. Just slightly. Just enough. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. For now. I need you to trust me for the next 12 hours. Can you do that? She looked at him. She looked at the tape in her pocket. She looked at the sky. Then she looked back at him. My father trusted you, she said. He told me that. In the last days. He said, there are 2 men. If it ever goes wrong, find the 2 men. They'll know what to do. He said you'd know the words. Dane nodded. He was right. Then yes, I'll trust you. Dane turned to the soldiers by the truck. Stand down. New orders incoming. Nobody touches the asset. Nobody calls this in until I say so. Clear? They looked at each other. They looked at Dane. They nodded. They stepped back. Dane walked to the SUV. He picked up the radio. He keyed the frequency. Raptor 2, this is Raptor 1. Change of tasking. I need you back on station in 20 mics. New escort coordinates to follow. Static. Then raise voice. Tight. Controlled. Copy, Raptor 1. I'm turning back now. Dane. Yeah. The phrase. The words she said. That was Briggs. Yes. Silence on the line. The sound of engines. The sound of sky. I haven't thought about that room in 29 years, Ray said. I know. I thought I buried it. So did I. Another silence. Then, what's the play? I'll tell you when you're on station. Get here. Stay sharp. And Ray. Yeah. Nobody else knows. Not yet. Keep it between us until I say otherwise. Copy. 20 minutes. The radio clicked off. Dane put it down. He looked at Elena. She was standing by the truck, arms wrapped around herself. Not from cold. From holding herself together. He walked over. He stood beside her. He did not touch her. He just stood there. It's going to be okay, he said. He did not know if that was true. He said it anyway. She nodded. She did not look at him. She looked at the desert, at the flat white nothing stretching to the edge of the world. My father used to say that, she murmured. When I was small, when there was thunder, he'd say, it's going to be okay, Elena. The sky is just talking. It'll be quiet soon. Dane said nothing. He stood beside her. The sun moved. The heat pressed down. The desert waited. They drove for 3 hours. Fields took the wheel. Dane sat in the back with Elena. The SUV's windows were tinted. The air conditioning hummed. The radio was off. Elena sat with her hands in her lap. The tape was in her jacket pocket. Dane could see the slight bulge of it. She kept touching it, checking it was there, making sure it was real. Tell me about him, Dane said. About Briggs. About your father. Elena looked at the window. The desert scrolled past. Same sand, same scrub, different angle. He was quiet, she said. That's the first thing. He was a quiet man. He made coffee in the morning and he hummed and he read the newspaper and he did not talk much. My mother used to say he left his words somewhere else. That he used them all up in another life and had none left for this one. Your mother knew? She knew he had a past. She didn't know the details. He never told her. He told me at the end, when he was sick, when the cancer was eating him and there was nothing left to protect. He told me his real name. He told me about the room, about the system, about the phrase. He made me memorize it. He said, say it back to me. Say it until it's in your bones. Because if they come, and they will come, you need to be able to say it without thinking, without hesitation. Because if you hesitate, they'll take it from you. Dane listened. His hands were in his lap. His face was still. He gave me the tape, Elena continued. He said it was insurance. He said if anything happened to him, I should take it to someone. A university, an archive, somewhere public, somewhere they couldn't bury it. So I did. I went to the University of Arizona. I went to the Smithsonian. I played it for people. I asked questions. And they found you. 3 days later. 3 men. No badges. No names. They said I was being relocated. They took my phone. They took my laptop. They put me in a car and drove me to a house in the desert. They said someone would come for me. They said I would be safe. She paused. They did not say safe from what? Dane thought about the voice on the phone. The old voice. The tired voice. They know the key is in play. They'll accelerate. The men who took you, Dane said. Did they mention a name? A facility? Person? No. But the one who drove the car. He had a tattoo. On his wrist. A small bird. A hawk. Dane went cold. The hawk. The same symbol on the card in his drawer. The same symbol that belonged to the voice on the phone. The voice that had helped Briggs disappear. The voice that had just told Dane to protect Elena. The same people who helped bury the system were the ones hunting for the key. Or someone was wearing their symbol. Someone inside. Someone who had been close. Close enough to know where the phrase was. Close enough to know about the tape. Close enough to send 3 men to a woman's apartment at 4 in the morning. Dane looked at Elena. The man with the tattoo. What did he look like? Tall. Thin. Gray hair cut short. A scar above his right eye. Dane's mind worked. Gray hair. Scar. The description tugged at something. A face from before. From the concrete room. From 29 years ago. There had been a man in the corner. Not at the table. In the corner. Watching. Taking notes. A young man then. With no scar. With dark hair. What was his name? Dane reached back. 29 years. The room. The table. Briggs at the head. Dane and Ray on one side. And in the corner. Ellis, Dane said. The name came out of him like a splinter. His name was Ellis. He was Briggs's aide, his assistant. He was in the room when the phrase was spoken. He heard it. He wrote it down. Elena turned to him. You know him? I knew him. 29 years ago. He was a junior analyst. 25. Quiet. Watched everything. Wrote everything down. Briggs trusted him. Dane paused. Briggs trusted everyone. That was the problem. What happened to him? After the accident. After Briggs disappeared. Ellis was reassigned. I don't know where. I never saw him again. I assumed he moved on. Got out. Forgot. He didn't forget. No, he didn't. The SUV hummed south. The desert shifted from white to gold as the sun dropped toward the horizon. Fields drove in silence. The radio stayed off. Dane pulled out the secure phone. He dialed the number again. The Hawk number. It rang 3 times. Kowalski. The same voice. Tired. Old. The man who took her. Gray hair. Scar above the right eye. Tattoo of a hawk on the wrist. Silence on the line. That's Ellis, Dane said. Briggs's aide. He was in the room. He heard the phrase. The silence stretched. Then, I know who Ellis is. Did you send him? No. Then who did? I don't know. But Dane, if Ellis is in play, then the phrase is already compromised. He heard it in 97. He wrote it down. He's had 29 years to work on Protocol Ash, to find the activation sequence. The only thing he's been missing is the kill switch. The only thing standing between him and full control. The phrase. The phrase. And now his people have it. They heard it on your frequency. They have the recording. They have the words. Dane felt the ground tilt under him. Not literally, but inside. In the place where certainty lived. Then the kill switch is useless. If he has it, he can neutralize it. He can remove the one thing that stops him. Yes, unless the phrase is spoken again. Live. In person. Into the system directly. Not recorded. Not transcribed. Spoken by the key holder into the activation terminal. That's how Briggs built it. The kill switch requires a living voice. A specific voice. His blood. His daughter. Elena turned to Dane. She had heard. The phone was not quiet enough. My voice, she said. Dane looked at her. You heard. I heard. He built it so I have to say it. In person. Into the machine. Yes. She was quiet for a moment. Then, where is the machine? Dane put the phone back to his ear. Where is the activation terminal? The voice said a location. A set of coordinates. A facility name. A place in the mountains. Cold. Far. Buried. You have 6 hours, the voice said. Maybe less. Ellis will move fast. If he has the recording, he'll try to crack the voice component. He'll try to synthesize it. If he succeeds, he doesn't need her. And if he doesn't need her, she becomes a loose end. We'll be there, Dane said. Dane, if you can't make it, if they intercept you, you destroy the tape. You make sure she never reaches that terminal. Because if Ellis gets both the phrase and the speaker, there is no stopping him. I understand. Good. God help you, Kowalski. The line went dead. Dane lowered the phone. He looked at Elena. She looked back. Her face was pale, but her eyes were steady. She was not crying. She was not shaking. She was holding herself together the way her father had taught her. With quiet. With stillness. With the words in her bones. 6 hours, she said. Give or take. Then drive faster. Dane leaned forward. He tapped Fields on the shoulder. New coordinates. I'm sending them to your nav. Push the speed. We need to be there before dark. Yes, sir. The SUV accelerated. The desert blurred. The sun dropped lower. The sky turned from gold to orange to the deep red of a wound. In the back seat, Elena touched the tape in her pocket. She mouthed the words. The 7 words. The phrase. The key. The thing her father had put in her mouth when she was 22 and sick with grief and not understanding why he was making her memorize sounds she could not translate. She understood now. She understood all of it. And she was afraid. They drove through the night. The desert gave way to hills. The hills gave way to mountains. The road narrowed. The pavement cracked. The SUV's headlights cut through dark pines and the occasional flash of a deer's eyes. Fields drove. Dane navigated. Elena slept for 1 hour and then woke and did not sleep again. She sat with her eyes open, watching the dark, listening to the engine. At 0200, the radio crackled. Ray's voice. Raptor 1. I'm on station. Overhead your position. 2 hours of fuel. What's the play? Dane keyed the mic. Change of destination. New coordinates to follow. We're heading to a facility in the Cascades. I need you overhead until we're inside. Copy. What's the threat? Internal. Someone from the old unit. Briggs's aide. He's been building toward this for 29 years. Silence. Then, Ellis. You remember. I remember. Quiet kid. Wrote everything down. Briggs liked him. Briggs liked everyone. That's what got him killed. Another pause. Dane. If Ellis has the phrase from the recording, he can try to synthesize the voice. If he gets the activation sequence running before Elena gets to the terminal. I know. We're pushing. 6 hours. Maybe less. I'll stay overhead. If anything moves toward you, I'll see it. Copy. Stay sharp, Ray. Always. The radio went quiet. The SUV climbed. The road wound up through the pines. The air got colder. The windows fogged slightly at the edges. At 0345, they reached the gate. It was a concrete wall set into the mountainside. No sign. No markings. Just a steel gate and a camera. Dane rolled down the window. He held up his ID. He spoke a code. The gate opened. They drove through. Inside was a tunnel. Concrete. Fluorescent lights. The same kind of lights as the room. Dane felt his chest tighten. He pushed it down. The tunnel opened into a garage. Empty except for 2 black trucks and a generator humming in the corner. Dane got out. The air was cold. Mountain cold. It bit through his jacket. He helped Elena out. She stood on the concrete. She looked around. The walls. The lights. The hum. She recognized it. Not this place specifically, but the shape of it. The feel of it. The architecture of secrets. My father described rooms like this, she said. When he was sick. When the memories came. He said concrete and bad lights. Always concrete and bad lights. Dane nodded. He led her inside. They walked through corridors. Gray. Bare. Numbered doors. No windows. The air smelled of recycled nothing. Of machine oil and cold metal. They went down 3 levels. Stairs. No elevator. Dane counted the steps. He did not know why. It helped. At the bottom, a door. Heavy. Steel. No handle. Just a panel. Keypad. And a speaker. Dane pressed the intercom. Kowalski. Authorization Delta 97. I'm here for the terminal. A pause. A click. The door opened. The room beyond was large. Larger than Dane expected. Cathedral of machines. Servers in rows. Screens on the walls. A central console at the far end, raised on a platform. Wires ran from it like veins. Into the floor. Into the walls. Into the mountain itself. And at the console, standing with his back to them, was a man. Gray hair. Thin. A scar above his right eye. He turned when the door opened. He looked at Dane. He looked at Elena. He smiled. It was not a kind smile. Ah, Ellis said. The key arrives. Ellis was 63. He looked older. The years had carved him down. The scar above his eye was white and shiny. His hands were at his sides. Empty. No weapon. No threat. Just a man in a gray suit standing in a room full of machines. Behind him, 4 armed soldiers stood along the wall. Their rifles were at low ready. They watched Dane. They watched Elena. They did not watch Ellis. Major Kowalski, Ellis said. It's been a long time. Ellis. You look well. Older. But well. The jets suit you. I'm not here for a reunion. No. You're here for the terminal. Ellis gestured at the console behind him. And you've brought her. Good. I was worried you'd try to run. Try to hide her. But you're a soldier, Dane. You follow the thread to the end. Briggs taught you that. Briggs taught me to protect what matters. Yes, and here she is. The thing that matters. Ellis looked at Elena. His eyes were pale, watery, curious, like a man looking at a specimen. You look like him. The eyes, the jaw. Did he tell you about me? Elena stepped forward. Dane put a hand out, held her back. She stopped, but she did not step back. He told me you were in the room, Elena said. He told me you wrote down the words. He told me you were the one who couldn't be trusted. Ellis smiled again. He was right about the first two, wrong about the third. I'm not untrustworthy, Elena. I'm patient. There's a difference. You took me from my home. I relocated you. For your safety. 3 men. No badges. No names. Necessary precautions. You were asking questions in public. Playing the tape for archivists. Do you know what would have happened if the wrong people heard it? If someone without my patience got hold of that recording? You mean someone who would just activate the system without caring about the kill switch? Ellis tilted his head. I mean someone who would not understand what Protocol Ash is for, what it was built to do. Briggs built it as a last resort, a final answer, and he buried it because he lost his nerve, because he got sentimental, because he looked at his creation and saw a monster instead of a shield. It is a monster, Elena said. 212 jets, turned into missiles, pointed at cities. No pilot, no choice. Just a signal and a target. Only if misused. Only if the wrong hand holds the trigger. I'm not the wrong hand, Elena. I'm the only hand. The only one who was in the room. The only one who knows the architecture. The only one who can use it properly. Properly how? Dane asked. His voice was flat, hard. What's properly? Ellis turned to him. Deterrence, Dane. Real deterrence. Not the paper kind. Not the kind that depends on a president picking up a phone. The kind that says, if you strike, 212 jets will erase your cities before your missiles clear the silos. Automatic. Instant. No hesitation. No human weakness. No one's finger trembling on the button. That's not deterrence, Dane said. That's a gun held to everyone's head, including ours. It's peace. Enforced. Guaranteed. No one fires the first shot if they know the second shot is automatic. That's what Briggs built. And he was too afraid to use it. So I'll use it for him. Elena stepped past Dane's arm. She walked forward. 3 steps. 4. 5. She stopped 10 feet from Ellis. She looked at him. She looked at the console behind him. At the screens. At the wires. You need my voice, she said. Ellis nodded. The kill switch. Briggs built it to require a living voice. His blood. His specific vocal pattern. A recording won't work. A synthesis won't work. I've tried. 29 years of trying. But it needs you. Here. Now. Speaking into the terminal. To shut it down. To shut it down. Yes. I need you to speak the phrase into the console. Deactivate the kill switch. Remove the one barrier between me and full activation. And if I don't? Ellis's smile faded. Not much. Just a fraction. Just enough. Then I have other methods. Slower. Less elegant. But effective. And you will not be comfortable during them. Dane stepped forward. You don't want to do this, Ellis. I've wanted to do this for 29 years, Dane. Since the day Briggs walked out of that room and disappeared. Since the day he chose to bury the greatest tool ever built because he got scared. Because he looked at his daughter and decided she mattered more than the mission. I watched him choose. I watched him walk away. And I decided I would finish it. For him. For the country. For everyone who would be safer if the system was awake. Safer under a gun, Dane said. Safer under a guarantee. There's a difference. Elena looked at the console. At the speaker mounted on it. At the small microphone. The one her father had built. The one he had designed to hear only her. Only his blood. Only the voice he had known since she was born. She looked at Ellis. She looked at the soldiers. She looked at Dane. Then she looked at the tape in her pocket. She pulled it out. She held it up. "My father gave me this," she said. "He gave it to me with shaking hands. He was dying. He could barely hold it. And he said, 'Elena, this is the last thing I can give you. It's not a weapon. It's not a key. It's an apology. I'm sorry I built it. I'm sorry I can't unbuild it. I'm sorry you have to be the one to say the words. But you have to. You have to say them. Not to shut it down. To set it free. To let it go. To let all of us go.'" Ellis went still. His face changed. Something moved behind his eyes. Something old. Something buried. "He said that," Ellis whispered. "He said that." Ellis was quiet for a long time. The room hummed. The servers breathed. The lights buzzed. Then Ellis straightened. The moment passed. The softness went. The mask came back. "Sentimental," he said. "To the end. Speak into the console, Elena. Say the phrase. Deactivate the kill switch. And this is over." Elena looked at him. She looked at the microphone. She looked at the console. And then she looked at Dane. Dane met her eyes. He gave a small nod. Almost nothing. Just a tilt of the chin. Permission. A trust. Elena turned to the console. She walked to it. She stood before it. The microphone was there. Small. Silver. Waiting. She leaned close. She opened her mouth. And she spoke. Not the phrase. Not the 7 words Ellis expected. Not the kill switch command. She spoke a different sentence. A longer one. In the same language. The same guttural, ancient, rhythmic tongue. But different words. Different meaning. The console lit up. Not the soft blue of standby. A hard red. Pulsing. The screens on the walls flickered. Changed. Showed text. Cascading lines of code. Then a single message repeated. Protocol Ash. Purge sequence initiated. All nodes. Wiping. All architecture. Dissolving. This action is irreversible. This action is final. Ellis lunged forward. "No. No, that's not. Those aren't the words." Elena stepped back. She looked at him. "My father didn't just build a kill switch," she said. "He built a purge. A full wipe. The phrase you heard in the room. The 7 words. Those were the kill switch. Yes. But he built a second sequence. A longer one. Purge command. He taught me both. He told me if you ever get to the terminal, don't shut it down. Kill it. Kill it completely. Kill it so no one can ever wake it again." The screens were going dark. One by one. The servers were winding down. The hum was dropping. The lights were dimming. Ellis grabbed the console. He typed. He hammered the keys. Nothing responded. The purge was eating the system from the inside. Every line of code. Every buried subroutine. Every hidden node in 212 jets. All of it. Dissolving. Erasing. Gone. "You can't," Ellis said. His voice was high. Thin. Breaking. "You can't take it. It's the only thing that keeps." "It keeps nothing," Elena said. "It's a gun. Pointed at everyone. And my father was sorry he built it. And I'm sorry I have to kill it. But I'm killing it." The last screen went dark. The hum stopped. The room went silent. True silence. The silence of a machine that has stopped breathing. Ellis stood at the dead console. His hands were flat on the surface. His head was down. His shoulders shook. Once. Twice. Then he was still. The soldiers along the wall lowered their rifles. They looked at each other. They looked at the dark screens. They did not know what they had just witnessed. But they knew it was over. Whatever it was over. Dane stepped forward. He put a hand on Ellis's shoulder. Ellis did not look up. "It's done," Dane said. Quietly. Not cruel. Not kind. Just true. "It's done, Ellis. Let it go." Ellis said nothing. He stood at the console. He stood there for a long time. Then his knees bent. He sat down on the cold floor. He put his head in his hands. He did not cry. But he breathed like a man who had been holding his breath for 29 years and had finally, let it out. They walked out of the facility at dawn. The sky was pale blue. The pines were dark against it. The air was cold and clean and tasted like nothing. Like the absence of machine oil and recycled air. Like the absence of secrets. Elena walked beside Dane. Fields drove the SUV up to the entrance. Ray's jet was gone. He had burned his fuel and flown home. He would call later. They would talk. They would say the things they had not said in 29 years. But not now. Now was for walking, for breathing, for standing in the cold and feeling the sun come up. Elena stopped at the edge of the parking area. She looked out at the mountains. The valley below was full of mist, white and soft, like a blanket, like a breath. She reached into her jacket pocket. She pulled out the tape. She looked at it. The faded label. The handwritten ink. Her father's handwriting. The last thing he had ever given her. She held it for a long time. Then she turned to Dane. "It's done," she said. "The system is gone. The tape doesn't matter anymore." "No," Dane said. "It doesn't." She looked at it one more time. Then she set it on the ground. She stepped back. She did not destroy it. She did not burn it. She just set it down. Like setting down a weight she had carried for 2 years. Like putting down a stone she had carried since she was 22 and her father was dying and pressing a cassette into her hands and saying, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." "Leave it," she said. "Let someone find it. Let them hear his voice. Let them know he was sorry. Let them know he tried to make it right." Dane nodded. He did not pick up the tape. He did not pocket it. He did not file it. He left it on the cold concrete. A small rectangle of plastic and magnetic tape. A dead man's apology. A father's last words to a daughter. A key to a lock that no longer existed. They got into the SUV. Fields drove. They descended the mountain. The pines gave way to hills. The hills gave way to flat land. The sun climbed. The mist burned off. The world opened up. In the back seat, Elena leaned her head against the window. She closed her eyes. She did not count her breaths. She did not need to. For the first time in 2 years, the counting stopped. She just breathed. In. Not counted. Not measured. Just breath. Just life. Just the simple act of being alive in a world that was not holding a gun to its own head. Dane sat beside her. He did not speak. He did not need to. The silence between them was not the silence of the radio. Not the silence of the room. Not the silence of 2 men hearing a dead man's voice and going cold with recognition. It was a different silence. Clean one. The silence after a long noise stops. The silence of a thing being over. He thought about Briggs. About the concrete room. About being 23 and nodding at a man with a scarred hand who said, "Protect the key." He had not understood then. He understood now. It was never about the system. It was never about the weapon. It was about the person holding the words. The person carrying the weight. The daughter. The key. The one who had to say the thing that ended it. He thought about Ray. About the phone call that would come tonight. About the restaurant Ray wanted to go to. Korean barbecue. Thursday. Dane would say yes. He would say yes, and they would sit across from each other and eat meat and drink beer and not talk about the room. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. But they would sit together. And that would be enough. He thought about Ellis. Sitting on the floor. Head in hands. 29 years of purpose. Gone in a sentence. A purge command spoken by a woman in a gray jacket. A daughter finishing her father's work. Ellis would face a tribunal. A trial. The cell, maybe. Dane did not know. He did not care. That was above him. That was for other people. His job was done. His order was fulfilled. Protect the key. Protect the person. Bring her to the terminal. Let her say the words. It was done. The SUV drove south. The sun climbed. The desert appeared again. Flat, white, endless. But it looked different now. It did not look like nothing. It looked like space. Like room. Like a place where you could stand and breathe and not be watched. Not be hunted. not be moved from one shelf to another. Elena opened her eyes. She looked at the desert. She watched it scroll past. My father used to take me to the desert, she said, softly, almost to herself. When I was small, before he got sick, before the past came back. He'd drive us out to the flats and we'd sit on the hood of the car and watch the sun go down. And he'd say, look at all that space, Elena. Look at all that nothing. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it enough? Dane listened. He did not answer. He did not need to. And I'd say, it's just sand, Dad. And he'd laugh. And he'd say, no. It's room. It's the room between things. The space where you can think. Where you can breathe. Where no one is telling you what to do or where to go or what to say. Just sand and sky and you. And that's enough. That's always enough. The SUV drove on. The sun climbed higher. The heat came. The white stretched out. Elena closed her eyes again. She breathed. In. Not counted. Not measured. Just breath. And in the back of the SUV, in the silence between the engine and the wind and the tires on the road, there was nothing. No phrase. No code. No protocol. No weapon. No system. No gun pointed at the world. Just two people. Breathing. Going south. Into the wide, white, quiet nothing. And it was enough. And